Good evening and thank you for joining us here this evening in Lisburn to launch our general election campaign and to unveil our strong team of Democratic Unionist candidates who will fight the election across Northern Ireland. At the outset, I want to thank you for your support and loyalty over the last number of weeks as I took the role of leading the Democratic Unionist Party. This evening, our MLAs and our outgoing Members of Parliament have bestowed upon me the great honour and responsibility of unanimously electing me as your leader, and the party executive have unanimously ratified that election. It is with honour, humility and commitment that I look forward to leading our party into the future. I want to thank the party executive, the officers and all the input from local members to facilitate the ratification of our team of candidates this evening. I am pleased to announce the following DUP candidates: Gregory Campbell, East Londonderry; Sammy Wilson, East Antrim; Jim Shannon, Strangford; Ian Paisley, North Antrim; Gavin Robinson, East Belfast; Paul Girvan, South Antrim; Carla Lockhart, Upper Bann; Jonathan Buckley, Lagan Valley; Philip Brett, North Belfast; Tracy Kelly, South Belfast and Mid Down; Frank McCoubry, West Belfast; Gary Middleton, Foyle; Tom Buchanan, West Tyrone; Keith Buchanan, Mid Ulster; Diane Forsyth, South Down; and Gareth Wilson, Newry and Armagh. Give them a round of applause. With energy and purpose, I will lead our Democratic Unionist team into this election campaign. And I know that we have a team of candidates that blends aspirations of colleagues taking on the mantle of fighting a general election for the first time, alongside a depth of unrivalled experience across the province. Our candidates are involved in politics because they want to make Northern Ireland a better place. Northern Ireland of 2024 is a different place from the Northern Ireland of 1984, when I was born. In 1984, parents were focused on keeping their children away from paramilitaries and getting as far away from the Troubles as they could. Today, parents are worried about childcare costs and keeping our children safe online. Today, people are returning to our shores rather than leaving. They're coming home. The beauty of Northern Ireland in 2024 is that there are people who are British and proudly Northern Irish. There are people who are Irish and proudly Northern Irish. And there are people who are just Northern Irish. Our challenge as a party for Northern Ireland is to make sure that every one of them feels at home here. It is the job of this party to provide leadership to those who believe in the Union and take pride in Northern Ireland. It is also our job to not only make the case made for the Union, but to take the lead in making Northern Ireland work and building a future that delivers prosperity for our people. Polling day will be in 5 weeks tomorrow, and we are ready to take our campaign across all of Northern Ireland. During the next 35 days, we will take a consistent message to the people of Northern Ireland as we fight to return a strong team of Democratic Unionists to Parliament. This evening, I want to take the opportunity to set out the basis for our campaign and our commitments to the people of Northern Ireland. Promoting the Union. The DUP will always work to promote and strengthen the case for the Union between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. In Parliament, and as we have demonstrated in previous elections, we also stand ready to work in cooperation with other Unionists. By supporting your local DUP candidate, you can be sure you're using your vote in a way that will maximise the return for Unionists at Westminster. Right across Northern Ireland, I meet fellow Unionists who want to cast their X for the Unionist candidate who can win. Undoubtedly in Lagan Valley, Upper Bann, North Antrim, South Antrim, East Antrim, South Belfast and Middown, East Londonderry, Strangford and North Belfast, the DUP candidate is the best placed unionist to win the seat and can make the case for Northern Ireland in Parliament. In Foyle, West Tyrone, Mid-Ulster, Newry and Armagh, South Down and West Belfast, the DUP is the largest unionist party in those constituencies, and we will again run strong, hard-working local representatives who have a track record of delivering locally and who play a vital role in giving unionists an opportunity to cast their support for the union in the overall NI-wide vote share. Putting you, the people, first. Again in this campaign, Democratic Unionists will put the people of Northern Ireland first by working with other parties in Parliament to ensure Northern Ireland's case is always spotlighted. In particular, we will focus on the just cause of a long-term, fair and equitable funding model for Northern Ireland's needs. Some years ago, I spearheaded the campaign to change the funding formula for Northern Ireland. Where we lead, others follow. And we secured progress through the recent financial discussions, but it will be important to push home the case in the new Northern Ireland spending review in the next Parliament. Removing barriers within our United Kingdom. Importantly, I want to set out our commitment on where Northern Ireland stands in the aftermath of the Protocol, the Windsor Framework, and then latterly the Government's command paper safeguarding the Union. The Northern Ireland Protocol was imposed upon the heads of the people of Northern Ireland and without the support of a single unionist elected representative. It wrecked the settled political balance within Northern Ireland, and it led directly to a loss of confidence within the unionist community. This party voted against the imposition of the Northern Ireland Protocol in both our national Parliament and the European Parliament. But it was passed by Boris Johnson and the Conservative government following the 2019 general election. Equally, this party, whilst recognising that some progress has been secured, it did not support the Windsor Framework, negotiated by Rishi Sunak, and we spent a further year in various discussions with UK government about what further progress could be achieved. Northern Ireland was cast aside by the so-called Conservative and Unionist Party, and some of the greatest harm inflicted on Northern Ireland has been a consequence of choices made by the Conservative Party and endorsed by our national Parliament. The truth is this: as the leaders of unionism, we were left to pick up the pieces and make difficult decisions as to what is in the best long-term interests of our province. We could have complained, but done little else, leaving power in the hands of those who delivered so much harm. Or we could act, in the interests of Northern Ireland, step by step, to right the wrongs. Following many months of discussions with the government, it was clear by mid-January that we had to make a judgment as to whether we had achieved sufficient progress to allow us to participate in a re-established Northern Ireland Assembly and Executive, following the end of those talks by government. On balance, we judged that it was right to return to Stormont in the interest of seeing local decisions being made for the benefit of all of our citizens. Even in the first 100 days, our ministers have played a key role in providing leadership and taking decisions that have benefited everyone. From childcare from Paul Given to grassroots football provision by Gordon Lyons, decisions that would never have been taken by direct rule Conservative ministers. We returned on the basis of the roadmap set out in the government's command paper. That paper did not secure all of our negotiating objectives and did not remedy a number of the long-term problems borne out by the protocol. It did, however, contain some important gains which were worthy of banking. It is important to recognise that both within our party and across wider unionism, there were deeply held legitimate views as to the best way to proceed. Those who took the view that the command paper did not contain enough to remedy our ills were entitled to that view. Equally, however, personal name-calling, particularly by those based outside Northern Ireland, who called into question our unionism or our commitment to doing what is best for Northern Ireland, it should not have happened. It ought never to be repeated or defended. Going forward, where within wider unionism we differ, we should all do so respectfully. And rather than in narrow or hurtful terms, we should certainly never call into the question the bona fides of fellow unionists. I want to acknowledge that whilst the government moved to implement elements of our package, other significant aspects have yet to be implemented, and any new government will have much work still to do. Some of the claims made in defence of the command paper when published were based on significant further work that had yet to be completed. And it would have been preferable had the debate been grounded with a greater degree of cautious realism about what was achievable when dealing with the Conservative government more wedded to the European Union than their own country. Progress made, grounded in principle, but with more still to do. Our message going forward in this campaign is to send a strong message to the new government, whether Labour or Conservative, that building on the progress to date, we will continue to fight to fully restore Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom, including removing the application of EU law in our country and the internal Irish Sea border it creates. We will continue to argue the case for the full primacy of the UK internal market, and we will resist all attempts to undermine its integrity. You will recall that the storm and break mechanism was not part of the original protocol. And the fact that members of the Assembly now have this mechanism is because we pushed for it and we secured it. Amending the protocol to remove dynamic alignment and injecting democratic control was a significant step forward, and we will use it to full effect. Come October, we will not hesitate to vote against the continued application, and drawing upon the new mechanisms at our disposal, we will continue our quest through the inbuilt review. Protecting Northern Ireland against illegal immigration. This party recognises the valuable contribution made by many from diverse backgrounds who come to Northern Ireland legally, make it their home, and contribute to our society. The national concern about illegal immigration, however, is an emerging and growing issue in Northern Ireland. We warned the outgoing government that they needed to act in a decisive way to ensure Northern Ireland was part of a UK-wide immigration policy that worked. In the next Parliament, we will campaign and argue that the government must act through legislation to ensure Northern Ireland is fully protected against illegal immigration. And finally, elect members of Parliament who will deliver for our constituents. As we have proved time and time again, Democratic Unionist Party MPs and indeed councillors and MLAs make service to their community their main priority. We again commit that the issues that matter will be championed and a dedicated constituency service will be provided where DUP MPs are elected. And finally, I want to set out our position on cooperating with other unionists. Yesterday, I met separately with Doug Beattie, with Jim Allister, and with Alex Easton to discuss how we can best work together in the interests of the union. We have our different views and different attitudes on the best tactics to employ, but for my part, I recognise that Doug, Jim, and Alex are all genuine fellow unionists who believe as passionately in the union as I do. The Democratic Unionist Party not only talks the talk of unionist cooperation, but has demonstrated at previous general elections in particular that we have been prepared to sacrifice our party interest in the best interests of Northern Ireland's case within the union. In truth, the DUP is the largest unionist party in North Down and Fermanagh South Tyrone, having outpolled other parties in both the Assembly and local government elections in 2022 and 2023. We recognise that in the interests of working collectively to secure pro-union members of Parliament, we want to lead by example. And as the leaders of unionism, we are unilaterally announcing the following. In North Down, we will not field a Democratic Unionist candidate. We will endorse Alex Easton, who is, in our view, a candidate with a strong and dedicated zeal for North Down, and who has a track record of being best placed to unite pro-union voters in the cause of winning North Down constituency. In Fermanagh South Tyrone, whilst again we are the first choice of unionist voters in the area, we have not fielded a candidate at a general election since 2005. We previously supported the non-party aligned campaign of Rodney Connor, and we supported, campaigned and helped get elected Tom Elliott in 2015 and supported his re-election campaign in 2017 and his subsequent attempt in 2019. It is our strong view that the best chance of maximising the election of a pro-union candidate to give parliamentary representation to the most westerly constituency in the United Kingdom would have been best served through a process of agreement between the unionist parties. For our part, we were engaged in those discussions since last year. However, the Ulster Unionist Party selected Erne North councillor Diana Armstrong as their candidate, and they've made clear that they do not intend to withdraw her from this election. On that basis, and in the interest of trying to win the seat for the unionist candidate, we have decided not to field a DUP candidate for this election only. And we would encourage all unionists in the constituency to set aside internal unionist debate and to vote for the Ulster Unionist candidate in the interests of returning a pro-union Member of Parliament. I want to publicly thank our DUP associations in North Down and in Fermanagh South Tyrone for their wise counsel on these issues, and to acknowledge their readiness at this election to agree to pro-union cooperation. We leave our campaign launch this evening with a strong platform to campaign on, with a strong, united and determined team, a mix of experience and youth, and a determination to fight for every vote. Across Northern Ireland, voters will face a clear choice. Do they want to elect those who will go to Parliament and unashamedly make the case for Northern Ireland within the Union, wanting to promote it and do the best for it, or will they be represented by people who won't go or who will spend all of their time talking Northern Ireland down? Northern Ireland needs a strong DUP team in Westminster who will take their seats on the opposition benches and speak up for Northern Ireland. As we have proved before, more seats mean more influence, which means more for Northern Ireland. Let us focus on working together to ensure our children inherit Northern Ireland in a better shape than how we found it. That must be our goal. Let us go forward and prove that on the 4th of July, it is the Democratic Unionist Party that will be the leading voice for Northern Ireland. Yeah.